All Things Motoring International is owned and brought to you by SA's most trusted online vehicle platform, CHANGECARS. Our name says it all. Whether you're looking to sell, need advice, need finance, or need insurance, CHANGECARS has you covered. Coming up this week on All Things Motoring International, Mike joins the Lotus Club on a road trip and stops at the Black Horse Brewery in Magaliesburg to chat about all things Lotus. This is a show that will rave your engines.
Honda, Nissan and Toyota all compete for market share. Audi, BMW, Mercedes, they all have their special fans. Then you get brands that we all aspire to, Ferrari, Lamborghini and Porsche. And then you get Lotus, and Lotus is standalone, as you'll see now in their beautiful story. Many people consider the 1988 McLaren MP44 the greatest F1 car of all time. Others will argue that it's the 2001 Ferrari, the 2023 4, 5 and 6 Red Bull. You see, I can predict the future. However, what is also in the debate is the incredible Lotus 72 that is adorning my t-shirt. I always believe you need to dress for the occasion. The only time I don't dress for the occasion is weddings, because they're very sad occasions. But that's a story for another day. The Lotus 72 carried Emerson Fittipaldi, the legendary double world champion from Brazil, to his first world title. This car was so legendary, they carried it on for 4 seasons. Normally a car is superseded after just 1 season. This car raced in 72, 73, 74 and 75. Then talking about incredibly iconic Lotus Formula One cars. The Lotus 79 of the year 1978, that sounds really complicated, that carried the legendary American Mario Andretti to his one and only world title with Lotus, was such a groundbreaking car. Groundbreaking for so many reasons. It is technology that was unheard of in Formula One at the time. What are we referring to? I think you know. You'll see on screen now, ground effects. What did ground effects do for Formula One cars of the time? It allowed them to corner quicker. Funny enough, it did affect their top speed a little bit, but what they lost on the straights, they more than made up for in the corners. The 1983 and 1984 season were the first 2 seasons without the legendary Colin Chapman, and they were 2 tough seasons for the team. In 1983, Lotus were helping develop the Renault turbo engine using Pirelli tyres, which were definitely not the tyres to have, although Elio De Angelis did put the car on pole for the 1983 European Grand Prix. Guess who won the race, just by the by? Nelson Piquet. Thank you, Elio. Doesn't matter what happens in practice. 1985, 86 and 87 was an absolute golden age for Lotus in Formula One in the 1980s. They signed the mercurial Ayrton Senna from Tolman, whose speed was unquestionable. 16 pole positions out of 32 races in that period. Incredible. We are back at the incredible Black Horse Brewery in Magaliesburg for what is the Lotus Register gathering. We are so proud to be here, surrounded by the most incredible Lotuses, old and new and something in between. Can't wait to share it with you. I'm chatting with Greg Turner, the chairman of the Lotus Register. Greg, we've had an absolute superb turnout, 20 magnificent Lotus. Every Lotus is magnificent. So the club itself, what year did the register start?
Mike, we started in 1985. I think the club's grown from strength to strength, and very passionate members. Everyone here loves their cars and knows lots about the mark.
You can see that. Now, as it stands today, members of the register, what are we looking at roughly?
Yeah, we've got about 180 members in total.
Now, as a member of the register, how often do you get together? What is in the future? Tell us a little bit about the register itself.
Well, we've got a racing series. There are probably about 8 races a year. It varies a little bit. And those are all for the Lotus 7 replicas. Then on the social side, we have the breakfast run like we did today, once a month. We get together for what we call a noggin, one Thursday night a month.
A noggin, what does that mean?
Well, initially, before the days of WhatsApp, it was kind of to disseminate information about what was happening. Now it's more of a social gathering.
Beautiful.
You drink something to eat, a bit of a chat with like-minded members.
For sure.
And then twice a year we try and do long distance runs.
But there is something that is very interesting. You do a driver's training day specifically for Lotus owners, is that correct?
Yes and no. The club started this idea perhaps 15 years ago, and it was so popular it's become our premium annual event. We hire a racetrack. I think we've been to Red Star, to Midval, and mostly SWAT course.
Beautiful circus.
We'll hire either morning or afternoon. And then we allow the members to take their cars onto the track. They can bring passengers, but they're also allowed to invite friends to bring their cars along as well.
Awesome.
So non-Lotus cars join in with us and also have some fun on the track.
Greg, as a chairman, you're clearly doing an incredible job. I can see the passion amongst the supporters, the members. Wishing you and the club the very best. May you go from strength to strength. There's not a motor club in South Africa that will not agree with me. The most important thing for them is the passion of their members. Wayne Grayson, you are as passionate a member of any club as I've ever seen. Thank you for inviting me today, because it was you that invited us. You're the owner of 26953 Lotuses.
Wishful thinking.
Hey? 3 beautiful Lotuses. Tell us about them. Tell us about what Lotus ownership means to you.
I remember visiting some family friends when I was 11 years old, and we were driving through Lyndhurst, and there was a blue Lotus Eclair parked at the side of the road, and I'd never seen anything so beautiful in my life.
This is not the typical Honda, the Mazda, the Nissan or Toyota of the day, sure.
Yeah, I was 11 years old, and I thought this is just amazing, and then my parents bought me a little Corgi Lotus Elite when I was as a Christmas gift, and then of course the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me, and I had the Corgi Lotus Esprit, and I thought, well, one day I hope I'll have a Lotus, and I ended up buying a blue Lotus XL, which is the successor to the Eclair, in 1995. So I've had that car since 1995.
So Wayne, somebody like yourself, I could speak to you for hours. You've got 3 incredible cars.
Thank you.
A Lotus Elise, I call that the middle of the range. Then you got a Lotus XL 1986.
Yes.
And then you've got something super special. And this is what I want to focus on. Behind us, what are we looking at, and what am I taking home today?
Well, if you ask me nicely, really
Wayne,
nicely.
with humble appreciation, what am I taking home today? Share this with us.
Yeah, it's a 2011 Lotus Evora. There are only 6 in South Africa, and there's only one other black Evora in the country, and it's a predecessor to the Emira, which you showcased earlier.
And a very similar engine from what I understand.
Yes, it's basically this is a naturally aspirated engine, and the Emira is supercharged.
Yes.
So this is the first iteration of that generation of cars. But they all have the same underpinnings, which date back to the Elise with the extruded aluminium chassis.
But now, as you'll see on screen, when you look around this car, very small, very compact, absolutely looks like a mid-range supercar. How does it drive? You drive something like this as a day-to-day car. Can you use it?
You could. I mean, people say you can't, but it's an absolute truth. Even the Elise, they make you feel special, and there's something about the DNA that filters through the cars because of the engineers like Matt Becker and Roger Becker.
Yes.
It's generations of people at the factory. So my Excel, I can feel the DNA in the Elise, and I can feel that DNA in the Evora. and there's a continuity. The cars are radically different, but it's about the handling. I can't think of another car that handles better.
Yeah. I always get goosebumps when I talk about the word DNA. We think of DNA as part of our blood, our nails, etc. But a car truly has DNA. However, Wayne, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't take people's word for it. I'll need the key, I'll need it for a week, and I'll come back to you and tell you if you're right.
Coming up after the break, Mike chats to some Lotus owners and goes for a drive in a Lotus Emira. Are you looking to sell? Visit Change Cars and click on the Selling tab.
This special story has a number 55. Behind me is a 1968 Lotus Elan Series 3. But what is even more special, this car has been owned by you for all but the first 6 months of its life. I'm speaking to Jeffrey Fish, the owner. Jeffrey, you've got to share with our audience what we're looking at here.
Well, you're actually looking at what I first bought as a wreck. I had a previous model to this, the Lotus Elite, and I'd pranged that. And I went down to Abbey Cross Coachworks in London. They arranged to come up to the station, collect my car on a trailer and fix it for me.
So now, interesting, you said this is a 1968 model. The original owner of this car, did he crash it within the first 6 months?
Yes.
Special kind of driver. It wasn't Jim Clark, obviously.
And he obviously had a lot of money because he didn't want to have it fixed,
of course,
which is the way I got to it.
What kind of damage did it have?
It had been bashed in here, the door and this window pillar.
But for somebody with your knowledge, was it relatively easy to fix?
I had no knowledge at all. I'd had my previous car fixed by these people.
Right.
And I'd come in to have a look, and he said, Mr. Fish, this is what we do. We buy 2 wrecked Lotus Elans and we mold them together on a new chassis.
The sum of all parts is better than the whole, something like that. Now, mechanically, Jeffrey, what are we looking at? Small little engine, what are we looking at?
1.6 litre.
Right.
Started off as a Cortina engine, which was a single cam.
Fair enough.
So Lotus grabbed it and modified it by cutting the front off the engine and then fitting a very special head and 2 carbs, 2 Webers and all that stuff.
Now, a car like this, 55-year-old technology, on the road, what do we expect? I mean, it's got no luxury features, no power steering, no aircon, obviously. What is it like to drive this car on a warm Sunday afternoon?
Well, you've hit the bad point, the warm Sunday afternoon, because it is very hot.
I can imagine.
And you need an air conditioner in this, and we haven't got one.
Lovely speaking to you. 55 years of Lotus ownership. What does it mean to you to be a member of the Lotus Register?
Oh, I really enjoy it, mainly from the social aspect.
Are you still one of the newer members?
No, I'm quite an old member. It is an intensely social club. The nicest people I've met are mostly in this club.
So we've got 55 years of Lotus ownership behind you. Here's to the next 55. Wishing you and the club the very best, and lovely chatting to you.
Thanks very much.
If you are a South African, almal weet Klippies en Coke, but today it's slightly different. Klippies and a Lotus 340R. Klippies, just looking at this, you can see it's special. So special that, am I correct in saying, it's the only one in the country?
Only one in Africa, that is.
In Africa, incredible. So Klippies, you bought it in George. I imagine that's one drive home that you looked forward to. Tell us about the drive home, the initial drive of this beautiful machine.
My grandson and I drove the trailer to George, and when I saw the car in real life and I pulled it onto the trailer, I was hooked absolutely for life.
I can imagine.
I had to make a very sincere commitment to my wife that I would not race the car because I have a...
Be honest, have you broken that promise? You've got to share with us.
I have been on the track many occasions, but never raced.
Fair enough.
I've done time trials, and I think I'll get easy forgiveness because my wife has done a Lotus register track day at Swartkops in the same car.
Yeah.
So, but the car is hers, but it's registered in my name.
Amazing. Now, performance-wise, driving a car like this, what have you got here? What engine? Tell us a little bit about that.
The car is a glued together aluminium chassis,
Right.
developed in 1994 by Lotus with a, I think, Norwegian company doing the bonding development, and it makes it for an incredibly rigid and a very safe chassis. And the car, I don't think there's a road car that has communication like a 340R.
And the engine itself, what have we got under the hood?
It's a Rover 1800 VHP, very high powered developed Rover motor, 1800 cc.
Normally aspirated?
Normally aspirated, 192 horsepower it is. The car weighs all of 700 kilograms with a full tank of fuel.
This must be driving by the seat of your pants when you're in this car.
Even on the road, if you're at speed, nothing with an assisted steering wheel can feel this directness. If you let go of the wheel, the car darts, but it talks to you. And on a racetrack, you can feel every nuance from the suspension. It's an incredible vehicle.
So Clippies, I made a joke about the Clippies and Coke at the start, and I said the Clippies and a Lotus. What a beautiful car, the only one in Africa. Keep it that way. Until you want to sell it, I'll take it.
Mike takes a drive in a Lotus Emira with Shane King from Daytona Cars, the official importers of Lotus cars. The Emira is a massively important car for Lotus, and, by and large, it makes a decent effort of being Britain's alternative to the Porsche 718 Cayman.
So now one of the adaptive settings is the exhaust. If I've got a smile on my face, thank you, Lotus.
It goes well, sounds great, looks sensational, and has an interior that is miles better in design and quality than any of its predecessors. The Emira boasts a 3.5-litre V6 provided by Toyota, but thanks to a supercharger, power gets up to 298 kilowatts, substantially more than before.
If you said to somebody 20 years ago that a car at this level is going to cost you 2.5 million rand, never in a million years would they have believed you. But driving it, does it feel like a 2.5 million rand car? Yes, with 2 thumbs up.
Coming up after the break, Mike chats to some more enthusiastic Lotus owners, including one with a 1968 Series 3 Lotus 7. Did you know? Lotus was founded by Colin Chapman in 1948, and the team made its Formula One debut in 1958. The early years saw moderate success, but Lotus became a dominant force in the 1960s. Lotus has often drawn inspiration from aerospace engineering in the design of its cars. The use of advanced materials, aerodynamics, and innovative engineering techniques reflect Colin Chapman's background in aeronautical engineering. Are you looking to sell? Visit Change Cars and click on the Selling tab.
The old, the new, and something in between. But right now, we're talking about the old. Klaas Kramer, you've got the oldest car here. Share with us what we're looking at.
Thank you. Yeah, it's obviously bookends the Emira quite nicely. It's the oldest Lotus car here. So 1968 Series 3 7. Yeah. Quite rare on its own. It's around 3,000 sevens in total built, 350 on the
worldwide.
Worldwide.
Roughly how many in the world today?
It's quite an active community, the Lotus guys. So
yeah.
I think probably around 50 to 60% is still left.
That is incredible. Yeah. Now this particular example, tell us a little bit about it.
So it's late Howard Robinson's car. He's one of the founder members of the TLR, so it's quite special as far as that pedigree is concerned. And we purchased it in 2011.
Wow, so 12 years, and in terms of mechanicals, anything special? What is it like?
Well, it's like all old cars, so there's always something mechanical to do to it. But it's an exhilarating car to drive, it's very delicate. Most cars you sort of engage with it in a commanding position, whereas Lotus 7 you drive, you're dancing behind the wheel.
Of course.
Much more delicate.
What is the most technologically advanced thing about this car?
I would say the layout,
Yeah.
you know, it's from a design perspective, it's quite unique. It's obviously why it stood the test of time.
Of course.
Today you can still buy a 7 recreation in the form of Caterham.
Yeah.
And then second to that, I would say the motor.
Of course. So share with us a little bit about the Lotus background on this beauty.
Okay, so Colin Chapman started his racing career and obviously a car manufacturing career with modified Austin 7.
Correct.
That he took club racing with his wife.
And that's in the late 40s, early 50s we're talking about now?
Late 40s.
Yeah.
Officially Lotus Cars was founded in 1948.
Correct.
And the special, Austin 7 Special then formed the basis for the Lotus 6, which is this car's predecessor. And then in 1957 we had the Lotus 7.
Amazing.
So from the road car perspective, this is pretty much Genesis.
Amazing. Klaas, thank you for sharing with us.
Absolute pleasure.
You are a proud member, a proud owner, and I can see why on both. Wishing you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I've had the pleasure of spending time over dinner chatting to Ron. Ron, I think it's fair to say your passion is about Lotus Motorsport.
Yeah.
But before we talk about the motorsport, how many Lotuses do you own?
I have seven Lotuses in my collection.
When I think of cars, there's only 3 manufacturers in my mind that have got road pedigree and racing pedigree.
Yeah.
Lotus, Ferrari and McLaren today.
Yeah.
Lotus, the story essentially starts in the early 60s with an incredible driver that is Jim Clark, the Ford Cosworth of the time. What are your memories of that period?
Very good, because I'll never forget 1963 Grand Prix. We went down to East London to watch it. My cousins and I, we parked up against the fence.
The beautiful seaside circuit,
Yeah.
that was East London. I mean, it's incredible. We often talk about the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit, but until 67, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
the South African Grand Prix was held at East London.
Yeah. During the breaks of the practicing, we used to jump over the fence and you could walk across the track and go into the pit.
Yeah.
So I managed to get Jim Clark and Colin Chapman's signatures or autographs on my program.
And the incredible thing in those days,
You
we're
could-
talking about the lead driver, the team owner, the team manager essentially. You would have walked into the pits as a youngster, as an older guy, didn't matter who you were,
Yeah.
these people were accessible. What are
Absolutely.
your memories of meeting the greater Clark and Chapman?
I know, I was smitten from there onwards. I've always been a Formula One enthusiast since then.
I can imagine. Now, when we think of Formula One drivers, I mean, the name Jim Clark, you think of this absolutely larger-than-life character. But I imagine he was a pretty short guy.
Well, I was short myself in those days.
Yeah?
So yeah, he was about the same height as me when I was 16 years old.
In 1977, Gunnar Nielsen, Mario Andretti, they raced a car that was literally unheard of at the time. It was called the ground effects car. Every single Formula One team of the era was only focusing on airflow over the car. In other words, the front wing, the rear wing was creating your downforce. Colin Chapman came up with another idea. The most incredible concept,
Yeah.
the airflow under the
Underneath
car.
the car, yeah.
And it was unheard of. Formula One car at the time essentially was like an aeroplane. The concept was incredible. Mario Andretti, 1978,
Yeah.
Lotus's last Formula One world champion, Constructors Championship the same
Yes,
year
yeah.
with the late, great Ronnie Peterson.
Yep.
I could talk to you for hours because there's so much to talk about. The 60s, the 70s, the absolute halcyon days of Lotus. Been absolutely lovely
Yeah.
chatting to you.
Yeah.
This will be the first of many, no doubt.
Yeah.
Wishing you
Yeah.
the very best.
This controversial front-wheel drive sports car remains an underground bargain.
Now, 125 kilowatts from a 1600cc engine at the time in 1991, that is huge.
The transverse mounted engine would come from Isuzu. Lotus would tune this direct overhead cam 16-valve 4-cylinder with a multi-port fuel injection, a turbocharger and intercooler. Unlike the Mazda MX-5, Lotus opted for front-wheel drive, claiming it was always faster in a small, lightweight roadster. This would be the only front-wheel drive vehicle ever produced by the brand.
Is it time to open this baby up? We're doing 60 k's an hour. Time to show what we can do. Another incredible day. Perfect weather, perfect people, perfect cars, and the perfect setting. I've got to talk a little bit about the setting. In Magaliesburg, beautiful Magaliesburg. When I was growing up, I considered Magaliesburg the country. My parents would say, let's go for a drive in the country. If you're looking to go for a drive in the country, come to the incredible facility that is Black Horse Brewery. Whatever your taste in food, in alcohol, in setting, it is serene and beautiful. They were the hosts for today's function. The incredible Lotus register. What a day. The amount of people that we got to meet, the incredible cars, what we've learned, the knowledge of the members is something to behold, and I hope you have enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching. That's it for now. From all of us at All Things Motoring International, we wish all of you a fantastic holiday. Don't forget to catch our highlights episodes during the break. See you all next year.
I like your shirt, but I'm not going to swap it for that. Thank you, guys.
I just feel like the cameras are shaking a little bit, guys. Is the camera shaking a little bit? Okay.
Swap shirts with you when we leave.
My Emerson Fittipaldi shirt. With pleasure. Me. This is needed.
You are so excited to get that brand new vehicle, but you're looking for a specific model and specific color. Only to be told, sorry, there are none available. Change Cars, SA's most trusted online platform, will find exactly what you need, from A to B and everything in between. Change Cars, because that's what you want to do, and it's who we are. All Things Motoring International was brought to you by SA's most trusted online vehicle platform, Change Cars. Our name says it all. There is no safer online vehicle platform. That's not an opinion, that's a fact.